You were never behind on wealth, and you're just doing it backward because you were just never taught to move capital. You were taught to chase savings, avoid risks, and play polite, while wealth quietly walk out the back door. I have met women making 6 and 7 figures who still feel like they're one bad month away from losing it all. Women who have built whole careers but not one stream of real freedom. If you ever delayed an investment, second guess your knowledge or thought, maybe I'm just not good with money. You're not. You're conditioned. I see. Picture this. Your money grows while you sleep. Not just your name on the deed, but your capital co-invested in powerful projects managed by experts. You're not doing it all. You're doing it right. Your choices are backed by capital, not hope. Too many women blame themselves for not knowing what no one ever taught me. Dude, this is not shame or guilt. It's a signal. You're just been playing a game that was rigged from the start. And the longer you wait to rewrite those rules, the deeper the cost, not just in dollars, but in dreams, defer, and freedom delay. I have moved capital to acquire $150 million in real estate assets, but not before I tried learning real estate on my own, fail, and agree to real estate. In today's video, we're unpacking the 5 biggest mistakes even the smarter female investors make, so you can break free from the old money rules and build a future that actually reflects your worth. So grab your coffee or glass of wine, no judgment here, take a deep breath, and let's rewrite the story. Let's talk about mistake 1. Waiting for perfect, aka analysis paralysis. I suffer from this. Perfection is a delay tactic disguised as discipline. The real cost is not failure this time. One of my dear investors, let's call her Vanessa, have the credentials most people dream of. MBA, high income W2, extremely sharp. She managed multi-million dollars budgets at work. But when it came to investing her own money, she froze. She wasn't stuck because she lacked knowledge. This wasn't about fear. It was about risk perception and the unspoken rules women are taught about who gets to move capital. She was stuck because she lacked momentum, not because she didn't care, but because she was afraid to get it wrong. Every time she thought about buying that first rental property, she had to say, I need to learn a little bit more first. I just don't want to mess this up. On the surface, she was being cautious, but underneath, she was paying a hidden tax called hesitation. That is what perfectionism does. It wears the custom of responsibility while quietly robbing you of results. What she really meant was, if I fail, everyone will see I'm not who they think I am. Internally, she felt like an imposter in a game she was never invited to. And externally, she looked like she was taking her time, but the truth is she was grappling with that deep shame spiral. I should know this by now. And if I don't, I must not belong here. That is the paralysis to perfection pipeline. It's not logic, it's legacy. And it starts early. From school to boardrooms, women are taught that precision earns permission. That getting it right is safer than getting it moving. She wasn't avoiding a decision. She was avoiding an identity shift from safe achiever to a strategic wealth builder. That shift is not logical, it's emotional because the world told her money is a man's game and perfection is the only safe currency to women to play. So she waited, and the property she bookmarked at $450 sold 2 years later for $900,000. Her savings still in cash. No loss on paper, but no gain either, which over 10 years at a conservative 6% market return is like silently burning $36,000 in this growth. And what she lost most, time. And time, that's the only asset that doesn't come back. Not in real estate, not in investing, not in life. She didn't just miss an opportunity, she missed an invitation to step into a bigger story. Sis, if that sounds like you, please hear me. You're not the only one. You're not behind. You're just early in your race. Here is the truth. Women don't wait because they're careless. They wait because they have been conditioned to believe they are not ready until they're perfect. But perfect is a delay tactic disguised as discipline, and it's freaking expensive. And the irony, most men don't wait until they're ready. They move, they miss, they learn, they win, but women, we rehearse our readiness until the moment's gone. And in fact, 70% of women in a recent Fidelity study say they wish they had started investing sooner. One woman told me, I didn't lose money, I lost a decade. So let me say this clearly. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need every answer. You're allowed to begin before you feel like you belong. And that's not failure, it's courage. You need the right circle, a safe place to ask real questions and learn and take small, meaningful actions. Start where you are. You were not born to sit in the waiting room of your own wealth. Perfection is a trap. Progress is unlocked. It's your time, it's your turn. And the world is waiting on the version of you who starts anyway. Invest a little. Because every day you wait is another 100 in compounding growth that quietly walks out the back door. So what do? Join a women-led investing group and get momentum. One that respects your questions and doesn't try to sell you the answer all the time. Ask the questions you have been embarrassed to ask. Your long-term intent, your patience, your research, your care, those are strengths. But they only work if you let them into the game. Perfection is not required, but starting is. And remember, clarity doesn't come from thinking, it comes from action. You don't think your way into financial freedom. You move toward it. So your next step doesn't have to be super big, it just has to be yours. Here's the mistake number 2, playing it too safe over caution in investing. Risk avoidance is not safety, it's stagnation. The bigger risk is falling short of your future. Another of my investors had already bought one rental property, all cash, no leverage. She had 150,000 sitting idle. But every time we talk about her next move, she has said, I'm just not comfortable with debt. What if the tenants stop paying? What if the market turns? Be honest. Have you ever said something like that? Maybe not out loud, but inside your head. The numbers make sense. A small mortgage, solid cash flow buffer, 30% equity day one. But emotionally, her inner alarms bell said, that is dangerous. Play it safe. Why? Because so many of us were taught that debt equals danger. That if you carry a mortgage, you are irresponsible. And I'm talking about debt, investing debt, right? That freedom equals zero balance. When you hear the word debt, what is the first feeling that comes up for you? Here's the hard part. Playing it to safe feels responsible until you run the numbers. That $150,000, it's been sitting in a high yield savings account earning 4%. But the duplex she didn't buy went up $80,000 in value in 18 months. Do you know how much money you made last year? Or did it just sit hoping that it will make no loss on paper, but no gain either? And over 10 years, she's on track to lose $150,000 in opportunity costs. That is the lesson. Playing it not to lose is still playing small. And in today's world, small is not safe. It's slow erosion. Women retire with significantly less than men, 50,000 versus 157,000 median. Yes, wage gaps and caregiving matter, I get it, but so does investing behavior. Because what if the real danger isn't in the market? It's never putting your money to work at all. Playing it to safe means slower growth, less compounding. And in the long run, the gap becomes generational. Have you ever calculated how much you will need for retirement? Or does that number feel too big to face? Here's what no one tells you, my friends. Being risk aware is a superpower. The smartest investors are not reckless. They are informed. They know the difference between a calculated risk and a chronic delay. Women don't need to be reckless, but we do need to stop mistaking caution for wisdom. What's really fear, it's like fear in a nicer dress. What will shift for you if you believe that your caution is actually a sign of leadership, not limitation. If you only focus on not losing, you might miss your goals entirely. And as one advisor told me, the biggest risk isn't the market, it's not having enough when it matters. You don't have to go all in, but you do have to get in. Even a small investment into something thoughtful, aligned, diversified can change your entire trajectory. And since that fear you feel, that's not weakness. That's the edge of your comfort zone calling you forward. It means you care. It means you're ready. What is that one small move you have been putting off? And what it will feel like to just do this week. Start with a small step. Maybe it's $500, $5,000 into a women-led crowdfunding syndication. Maybe it's buying a rental property with a partner. Maybe it's finally learning what equity and cash on cash actually mean. Which of those feel like your next move? That's my question. And actually, type it in the comment if you're watching this. Say it out loud or your own. It's okay, but I want you to feel it, move. Because over time, every step compounds. And your future doesn't need another delay. It needs your yes. Carefully and courageous, they're not enemies, they're partners if you think about it. And when you partner your caution with aligned action, you just don't preserve wealth, you create it. Here's mistake number 3, going it alone. Let's talk about one of the biggest mistakes I see in investing. Trying to do it all by yourself. Tell me something honestly. Have you ever told yourself, I will figure out on my own? Multiple times I have done it too. If we're being real with ourselves, was that actually about capability or about trust? Have you ever felt like asking for help meant you were weak? It actually meant you belong to something bigger than just the grind. Now pause and picture this. It's 2 a.m., you're awake again, replaying a spreadsheet in your head. You're handling all, but you're tired, stretched, wondering if you missed something. That's the emotional tax of doing it all yourself. And nobody tells you it costs you more than just time. It costs you energy, clarity, and mental. And often it's not just about the spreadsheets. It's about proving you can do it without needing anybody. How long have you been carrying this alone? We all love that feeling of independence, right? I understand. But here's a little secret. The most successful investors are not doing everything solo. They build teams, they ask for advice, and they lean on each other. It's not about losing control. It's about gaining perspective. You got all of these big dreams. I know this. But you're juggling everything alone. And now in investing, research, managing property, crunching numbers, and I'm not even talking about family, parents, kids, right? It's exhausting and honestly can slow you down. But when you bring in partners, a real inner circle, or mentors, you're not just sharing the load. You're actually multiplying your potential. You get new ideas, avoid rookie mistakes even when you're seasoned, and move faster toward your goals. It's all about working smarter, not harder. So ask yourself, is the way I have been doing it is working, or is it just familiar? Because familiar is not always effective. And here's the truth, if you want results, you need a new strategy. This is the moment where everything can shift. And I see you, the women who has been holding it all together, and I have seen women just like you shift everything, the momentum, they stop doing it all alone. And let's be real. Many of us were taught that needing help meant we were behind. But what if collaboration is actually how the next level begins? So if you have been feeling like you have to do it all on your own, consider this your invitation to open up to collaboration. You have done the solo juggle, calculating in silence, doubting in private. Now visualize this, walking into a deal room, knowing you're not carrying it alone, your shoulders back, your heart steady, your confidence earned. That's the joy on the other side of asking for support. You don't need to know it all. You need to know how to ask. Partnerships are not a backup plan. They're the fast lane to mastery. And speaking of collaboration, syndication is a fantastic way to invest alongside others and leverage collective expertise. Would it help to have a roadmap instead of just a dream? That's what this checklist is about. It's an invitation to move from guessing to grounded action when investing in partnerships through syndications. So this is not just information, it's a shortcut for you. Because when the path is clear, your power returns. So I invite you to download below if you want to skip 3 years of mistakes in 30 minutes. And I learned these things on my own too. I invite you to download in the link below. Let's talk about mistake number 4. Letting emotions drive decision. Investing with heart over head. Some women lose money, others lose momentum because they let their emotions make the decision. And I have seen this happen with women who fall in love with a property, beautiful kitchen, dreamy backyard, and suddenly forgot to check the numbers. Or women who avoid raising rents because they feel bad even when the costs have doubled. It's not a lack of smart, it's a surplus of heart. I get it. And in a space that still demands a strategy. One day, my friend Elizabeth, Ellie, I put you in the spot, brilliant, stylish with a 6 cents for location, looked at me and said, Jen, how do you walk through so many beautiful properties and not fall in love with all of them? And I smiled and said, Ellie, I do enjoy them. I let myself admire the design, feel the vibe for a few minutes, then my alarm goes off, literally. Time to put on my investor hat. Because at the end of the day, it's not about how it looks right now, it's about how these assets will perform. I even enjoy it. It's like shoes, I love them. I will buy 100 pairs, but I don't want to just leave them in the rack. If you ever said, but I just feel this one right, or I don't want to see pushing the negotiation, pause. That's not intuition talking. That might be emotional bias in disguise. Yes, women are told that we're too emotional for finance, but denying emotion doesn't solve it. Naming it does. The biggest mistake I see women make, falling in love with the asset and the potential of it. My real estate friends used to laugh and we have this joke, we got to stop buying properties like we pick our partners, but will ruin us. If we keep investing or dating based on potential only, we're setting ourselves to go broke or heartbroken. I don't marry asset based on charm. I marry the numbers for what they are today, because the cost I pay is the intrinsic value today. Potential, that's the icing in the cake, not the justification for the purchase. Girls, it's not your job to fix your partner or flip it. This is real estate, not rehab for red flags, okay? So picture this, you walk into the deal where you love the opportunity, but your spreadsheets love it more. It fits your criteria, you negotiate with confidence, you slept on the decision, you move with both intuition and intellect. Because here's the facts, studies show women are actually better investors, not in spite of emotion, but because of how we combine rational analysis with intuitive insight. A fidelity study found that women investors consistently outperform men over time, often because we trade less impulsive, assess risk more holistically, and stay grounded in a strategy. That's not how emotion becomes an ally, that's a liability. So set your investment criteria before emotions walk into the room. Run the numbers twice. And when your heart wants to lead, let us speak. Then let your criteria decide. Combine both. This is not about shutting off your heart. That's your superpower as a woman. It's about turning on your power. Let's talk about mistake number 5. Underestimating yourself. Deferring power instead of owning it. The most dangerous financial mistake women make doesn't look dangerous. It doesn't even feel reckless. It feels smart. It feels safe until it's not. Until it costs everything. In my work, raising millions in capital for my real estate deals, supporting women-led projects, and teaching women how to raise capital themselves, I have seen one mistake that costs more wealth than any market crash. And I say that as someone who didn't get the option to hand over the wheel, because no one ever was holding it for me. I didn't grow up in a household where women talk about building wealth. What I did hear lovingly, consistently, was that a good man handles the money, that our job was to be grateful, supportive, smart, but not too smart. My mother didn't say it to hold me back, and that's the truth. It was an inheritance. She said it because it was what she was taught. Even after that belief led her through 2 bankruptcies. I wasn't rebelling, I was surviving and figuring out on my own. Didn't feel powerful at the time. I felt very happy. But that's where the spark started. Deferring financial power quietly until it's too late. She had a beautiful home. Just imagine this. Kids in private school, a business of her own, and she still lost it. Not to fraud, not to a recession, to something smaller. Something she thought was smart. Not because she wasn't intelligent. I mean, she was pretty intelligent, and this is a woman I know actually. But because somewhere along the line, someone told her he is just better at the numbers, and she believed it. I watched far too many brilliant women. I'm talking about doctors, lawyers, entrepreneurs, professionals wake up after a divorce, a death, or a deal gone wrong and realize they handed over the financial steering wheel without even knowing it. This is not because they were not capable, because they were trained to trust someone else more than themselves, because they believe a lie dressed up as love. I would say dress up as logic and dress up as safety. It doesn't feel like a mistake at first. It feels some kind of a partnership. It feels at first like trust, like relief, that you don't have to carry this heavy thing. He got this. He understands investing. I don't. He is the numbers guy. I'm everything else. I will focus on the kids and the moms and the house and the real work. All of that extremely needed. But let me say something bold with love and fire on. I believe in delegation. I do, in many ways. But there is a line most women don't know they have to cross. Delegation can become abdication. And abdication, that's no smart. It's exposure. There's a difference between sharing power and surrendering it completely. And far too many women, educated, intuitive, widely capable, are deferring their power until it's not longer a choice. Well, isn't it just about what you earn, my friends? It's about what you understand, what you influence, what you protect, and what you multiply. Women tend to multiply whatever it's being given to them. I have to think about this for a second, but the true bomb most financial advisors won't say. Everyone makes money mistakes. They will. Men just don't apologize for them as much. That hesitation you feel, that fear of getting it wrong, that is not your truth. That is your training. Again, inherited. And of course, you did. You did get this training. You were raised to be responsible but not powerful, to be competent but never controlling, and to never, ever, ever, ever be too much. You know what I'm talking about. And that's not a personal flaw. That's a generational conditioning. And it's costing you more than confidence. It's costing you control. Because whether through divorce, widowhood, or inheritance, 90% of women will manage money on their own someday. So I'm telling you, it's coming. When? It's a surprise. And I have held the hands of women with 6-figure degrees and zero financial clarity because they trusted love over literacy. The only question is, would you be ready? Or would you be relearning the rules when the stakes are really high? I'm not here to scare you, don't get me wrong. This is a stats, this is numbers, this is inheritance, and I have to deal with it too. I'm here to wake you up. I have seen what happens when she takes it back, and a lot of my friends do too, and a lot of them have learned, but it has been a very painful process. So when she stepped into the room, when she say, I might not know it all, but I will no longer pretend I don't belong. When in that moment, you can feel the shift. And yes, I'm talking to you. She straightened her shoulders, her questions sharpened, her decision to stop shrinking. And that's when she moves, not from fear, but from clarity, from power. So let me remind you of this. Again, you don't need to be perfect. You just need to be in the room before you're ready, before you feel smart enough, before you stop shaking, because that's where courage lives. You don't need all the answers. You just need to own your seat at the table of wealth. You don't need permission to build wealth, my friend. You just need to stop asking who is better at it and start asking, why not me? Let me talk about identity for a second. Let me give you a number that should stop you cold. 60% of women who invest don't call themselves investors. And that's not a knowledge gap, that's a status gap. A status governs behavior. And when you don't own the title, you don't own the decision-making seat. And when you don't own the seat, the money moves without you. You claim the title, you shape your behavior. When you sit down at the table, yes, that table, the table of wealth, the table where conversation shifts, the table where you start owning and claiming your new identity to control your wealth, to lead your wealth and your financial freedoms to what you want, to your values, to your goals, to your legacy. That's the time. So let's make this visual. Walk into a financial meeting, not to observe, not to comply, but to direct the room. You sit tall, you ask the right questions. That's where you start learning what questions to ask. Call your girlfriends, go to events, figure out what questions to ask. You start understanding the options and you say, actually, I would like us to reevaluate that strategy. And people listen, not because you memorize financial terms, but because you are a decision maker, because your presence carries weight, because you have done the inner work to decide you belong here. You are not just managing money, you are architecting a legacy. And whether that legacy starts with a rental property, a hotel, or your first limited partnership check, what matters is that you learn to evaluate the deal, not just trust the pitch. You're building a framework for decision making, one where emotions don't drive the investment. Strategy does. And no, you don't need to become a financial advisor, a CPA, or any of that. But here's who you need to become: curious, consistent, and clean. Here is your first power move, and I call it the ownership loop. Be in the room, even if he has it covered. Ask the question, even if it feels silly. Who cares? Research the deal. Even if you're not ready yet, set the money date, not as a chore, but as a celebration of the empire you are building. So learn the difference between risk and uncertainty, because when you are informed, your fear loses power. And most of all, own your title, my friend. Want to become an investor? Own your title, investor. Start paying attention to how money moves. Start doing it. Start paying attention and ask questions. Don't just listen to the news. Learn how capital cycles work, because when you see the game, you stop playing checkers in a chess match. Because if you're thinking about wealth, you are an investor. If you're building a business, you are an investor. If you are raising children, you are investing in the next generation. So you're not behind, you're not too late, you're not less capable. You have been underestimated even by yourself, but I see you. And I want you to hear this. You are still worthy of wealth, even if no one ever taught you how to claim it. And that ends today, because quiet power still holds the pen, and it's time you write a different money story. One rooted in memory, mastery, movement. That's your story. You don't have to become an expert in the room. You're not waiting to become her. You already are. She's just being buried under old scripts. Rip them up. Walk in. You can do this. Own the room and never, ever, ever hand over the wheel again. So say it with me, please. I don't wait for power. I walk in it. Because you were never meant to see in the shadows. You were never meant to watch from the sidelines. You were born to lead your finances, your freedom, your life. And your time is now. And if this message sparks something in you, I will love for you to watch the next video. 12 habits of quietly wealthy women. We will decode the mindsets, the micro decisions, and the powerful identity habits that help women grow wealth. And very important, without burnout, without ego, and without all the noise, because your wealth story is never just about money. That's the most interesting thing. It's not just about money. It's about your voice, your vision, your next chapter. So you don't need an invitation for that. Just the courage to stop pretending you're not already qualified. So I want you to pick up the pen, rewrite the money story that never gave you permission to hold. So write it with truth, enjoy it, feel it in your soul. Do it when you write it with structure, with a system that outlines trends and serve your future self. Yes, you're gonna have emotions, but I want you to start practicing. I want you to start writing that out with a system, again, that outlines trends and serve your future self. If your hands are trembling a little right now, that's good. It means you're hard the invitation, and it means you're still here. So breathe and begin. You got greatness in you. Now let's build the wealth to match who you are. Because you got this. So let's start considering what's your next move.